Hi everyone, welcome to this week's bonus training, which is how to train your outsourced employees. Now there's 3 ways that we train people, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the easiest one, and this one is going to free up the most of your time. So this first way of training is taking the things that you already know how to do, getting them out of your head, and offloading them to your new employees. Now, we do understand that for some of you, there might be a lot of stuff in your head, especially if you're wearing all the hats in your business. So Gonzalo recommends starting with one of 2 things. The first is to focus on the tasks that take up the most of your time. This can be routine tasks, busy work, stuff that you're doing on a daily or weekly basis that that if you develop some training and you can offload it, it would free up a lot of your time. And the second type of task that you can create training for is the one that if you had somebody doing for you, it can make a big difference in your business. If you had somebody doing this for you, it could bring you money literally overnight. So the most important advice that we can give you when you start to develop your training from something that you've been doing yourself and it's all in your head is don't worry about getting it perfect. This can be a really big hang up for people. They want the training to be meticulous. Don't worry about it. Just get it out there. So if this is a task that you do on a normal basis, the easiest and fastest way to document it is by using a screen capture software. You can use Jing. We've talked about that before. It's a free software and it can record up to 5 minutes at a time. We also use Camtasia. You can also use any other type of screen capture software. And you literally just press record, start talking, and start doing what you normally do. Now, this method also applies to tasks that are multiple steps. Let's say, for example, that you need to create a landing page. And this task can have 6 steps. So all you need to do is record each step individually. So to create a landing page, the first step would be to create a WordPress page. So you would record yourself doing this and then press stop. Then you would record yourself doing step 2, which would be to customize the look of the WordPress page. And you would just continue to repeat this process for each step. Now, after all of the steps are recorded, you would want to create a document, and you could name it How to Create a Landing Page. And you would have all 6, however many steps there are. For this example, I'm saying 6. You would have all 6 steps, the links for those videos on this document. Then once your document is complete, you would share it with your employee. You can email it to them. We keep all of our training documents in Google Drive. That way it's really easy to share it with them. So that can be an option for you as well. Now, when your employee gets this document with these training links, you're going to have them do 2 things. First, they're going to go through the training so that they can learn how to do the task that you've created this training for. Then, once they're comfortable with doing the task, you're going to have them clean up the documentation for it. Remember, when you created the training, you weren't worried about making it pretty or perfect. You can use their time to do that for you. And that may look different for everybody. Some of you may want a brief text description with a video link. Some of you may want detailed text instructions with a video link. Whatever you want them to create, you have them do. Because long term, your vision should be to have somebody on your team that can create documentation for you. So here's an example of one of our training documents. This is for our sound editing, and you can see that we've broken it down into 7 simple steps, each one just a topic and then a video link. So you can see it doesn't need to be anything fancy. It just needs to be simple and clear. So now I'm going to move on to the second way that we train our outsourced employees. Now, this type of training we use for 2 reasons. Number 1, it may be for a task that we know how to do not very well and we want them to become an expert. Or the second reason is because we don't know how to do it at all and we still want them to become an expert. An example of this is the PowerPoint presentation that Gonzalo used for the webinar. He knows how to use PowerPoint, but not very well. So he wanted one of his VAs to become an expert at creating PowerPoint presentations. It didn't really make sense for Gonzalo to try to spend his time documenting how to create PowerPoint presentations, like the first way of training that we talked about, because he really didn't know how to use it that well. So instead, he used resources that I'm going to tell you about right now. The first is lynda.com and the second is udemy.com. Both of these companies offer online classes and training for basically any type of software that you can think of. Lynda.com offers a monthly membership. You pay a monthly rate and then you have access to all of the courses that they have, which is literally thousands. And then udemy.com, they have free courses as well as paid courses. So when Gonzalo wanted his VA to learn PowerPoint, he went to lynda.com and he chose the top 2 rated courses on PowerPoint and told his VA to go through them. Both of them were between 6 to 8 hours, so it took him 2 days to go through both of the courses. Then he also gave him one more course that talked more specifically about design principles. And so he spent 3 days learning how to do PowerPoint and became an expert. So then all Gonzalo had to do after that 3 days of training was email him his webinar presentation outline. And 48 hours later, he had a PowerPoint presentation, the beautiful presentation that you saw on the webinar. Of course, there were a couple of little modifications that needed to be done, but basically, Gonzalo didn't have to waste any of his own time learning how to become better at PowerPoint to develop the presentation. He just outsourced it. Now, what's great about this is that from now on, Gonzalo has somebody on his team that is a PowerPoint expert. He doesn't have to hire somebody on a project-by-project basis or an hourly basis every time he needs a new presentation designed. And the really amazing thing is that the same amount of money that he paid his employee for that 3 days of training and even the 2 days of creating the presentation, it was still less money than he would have paid somebody to create the presentation one time. And now he can keep going back to his VA to keep doing this over and over again. Now, the real kicker here, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is because you can do the same thing, is that if Gonzalo wanted to, he could use this new skill that his outsourced employee has developed and actually make money from it. He could post jobs on freelancer websites and offer to create beautiful PowerPoint presentations, for $250 to $500 and actually make money from his skill. And not only make money from his skill, but eventually pay his own salary, basically. So just wanted to throw that little nugget out there for you. On a side note, a free resource for training that I forgot to mention is YouTube. This has happened to us several times where we've just done a simple search for something and we've found experts on YouTube that give away their knowledge and their training for free. So that's another way that you can look for training. So I used Gonzalo's PowerPoint presentation as an example for how this type of training works, but I want to reiterate that this can be used for anything that you want your employee to learn. For example, Excel, Word, basically any type of software that you do not want to spend your own time learning how to do. You can just provide them the resources, pay them for their time, and they can become an expert for you. Now, the reason that we give our employees more than one resource for their training, for example, for the PowerPoint, we gave our VA 3 different courses, is because we want them to have more than one perspective. That way, when they've spent a couple days doing the training, they'll know what are the best principles and the best practices for that particular software. So you don't have to stress out too much about finding the perfect resource for them, because if you have them do a couple, at the end of that, they'll still be able to pick out what's the most important thing and become an expert. Now, another thing that you can use this technique for is to even outsource your own learning. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think most of us are guilty of buying too many digital products and courses that we really don't have the time to go through and implement. For example, I know Gonzalo at one point had like 10 different courses about Facebook marketing. He was never in a million years going to have time to go through all of those and then implement the best practices. So in situations like these, what Gonzalo does, and you can do this too, is he will give his employee a couple of courses. So for this example, he sent him several Facebook marketing courses, gave him a week to go through them. And then he said, when you're done, I want a summary report, basically a Cliff Note version of what you think I should be implementing with my Facebook marketing. Now, in this summary report that he gets from his employee, Gonzalo also requires that the specific reference point for that strategy or tactic is included. For example, there might be a strategy about promoted posts. So the employee would also include where that strategy was in the training. For example, video number 2, minutes 5 through 10. That way, if Gonzalo wants to at some point in the future, he knows where to find it. Now, I just want to quickly share that using this technique to outsource his learning has really been a game changer for Gonzalo. It has really supercharged his ability to implement things in his businesses, which is what we want for you as well. All right, so now let's move on to the third way of training your outsourced employees. And this right here is really a gold nugget for all of you. So this way of training you'll use when you want your employee to learn something, but you don't even know how to do it, so you can't train them, and you're not really familiar with any resources available to give them so that they can learn how to do it. So in situations like these, you're actually going to go out and hire someone who is already an expert in this field. Now, this, in fact, just happened very recently with Gonzalo, so we do have an up-to-date example to share with you. So in Gonzalo's case, he wanted to implement Google Analytics, but specifically for email marketing. Now, in the past, when Gonzalo would need something very specialized like this, he would have to hire somebody on a project-by-project basis every time he would need it done. And sometimes he wouldn't be able to get the same person again. So it was really time consuming. So now what he does is he will post a job on a freelancer website with the job description of the task that he needs them to do. But then he also states that he needs them to document themselves doing it, either with screen capture or a written description. So now he's got documentation from somebody that is an expert at doing this specialized task, and he can take this document, this training, and give it to his employee. So now his employee will be able to implement this for him over and over and over again. So as I said before, I have a really recent example to share with you. Here is Gonzalo's Odesk account. And as you can see here, he posted a job that he wanted somebody to set up and suggest to him the best way to use Google Analytics for his email tracking. And he said that he was willing to pay $100. You can see the first applicant here has over 100 hours doing this type of work and has 4.5-star rating. So very good. But the second candidate really blew him away. She is actually in charge of email marketing for the company 1-800-Contacts. Let me really quickly pull up her resume here. So Angela has been with 1-800-Contacts since 2009, and she said that they send out 500,000 to 1 million emails every single day. And she has over 5 years of experience doing this for this company. So as you can imagine, Gonzalo didn't waste any time hiring her. And she has been really amazing. For $100, she did 3 things for him. Number 1, she spoke with him on the phone for an hour and shared with him key insights and best practices for what he wanted to do with his email tracking using Google Analytics. Number 2, she actually set up the exact system that he wanted to use. And most importantly, number 3, she documented herself doing it. So now he can take this documentation, give it to somebody on his team, and have that person implement it for any email campaign that he wants to use it for. So as you can see here, he was able to get a top expert in this industry to not only do the task that he wanted, but also create the documentation for him. So as you can see, this isn't just some pie in the sky theory. This is something that we actually use. Gonzalo just used this for the Google Analytics, and you can use this for any type of training that you need. You can find an expert in any field, have them do the work for you, but also have them do the documentation for you as well. Then you can give it to your outsourced employees and have them learn it and have them do it for you at a much cheaper rate and do it for you over and over and over again. All right, guys, time to wrap things up. I really hope that this video has been helpful for you. Gonzalo has gone through a lot of trial and error and experimented with a lot of different ways to train over the years. And these 3 ways of training that I've shared with you, we use it all the time because it works. So choose something and just start because it will make a huge difference for you and your business.